remove the skid plate, 3 bolts in the front, 1 bolt on each side, and 3 bolts in the back, including this high up one that can be kind of hidden. Loosen this drain plug here and start draining it into a bucket. Undo your upper radiator cap so that it drains faster. Begin disconnecting the overflow tank. It is held in by 2 short 12 millimeter bolts. One here and then one under here. And after doing that, it should pull straight out if you use 2 hands. Here it is. Just be mindful of this AC hard line. It may be helpful to unfasten some of these bolts just to give you more room to work this out, but I didn't have to. There's 2 brackets here holding on these AC hard lines to the radiator. I was able to, and they're held on each by these 12 millimeter bolts. I was able to break it free with a wrench and then get it the rest of the way with my hand. They each look like this. There's one on each side. And then make sure you keep those square nuts that are in there in case you need to reuse them on your new radiator. Undo these 2 bolts holding the fan shroud onto the radiator, one on each side, and make sure that you keep the square nuts that are in there in case you need to reuse them. Down on the driver's side of the radiator, there is another 12 millimeter bolt holding the fan shroud onto the radiator. So go ahead and remove that one as well. Prepare to disconnect your lower radiator hose. Make sure that you have your bucket ready to collect the coolant that's going to spill out. Make sure to accidentally spill coolant all over your driveway. And disconnect the upper radiator hose as well. There may be some coolant, but if you've emptied it all out, there should be fairly little. There is a small plastic bracket securing the lower radiator hose to the fan shroud. If you could just go ahead and slip the hose out of that bracket, it will give you more room to move the shroud backwards, closer to the engine. Next, we need to remove the 2 transmission cooler lines. There's one on each side. Here. And here as well. Some ATF will drain from the radiator. If you have extra hardware laying around, it can be nice to plug those hoses with a bolt just to keep from extra fluid leaking out. Also, this is not required, but I have these extra little rubber caps for vacuum hoses, and I don't feel like leaking ATF everywhere, so I'm just going to go ahead and snug that over the end of this. So when I'm removing the radiator, I don't have to worry about leaking fluid more than I have to. Next, we will undo the nuts and bolts that hold the radiator into the core support. We're going to start with the top 2 here. There's one on the passenger side, tucked back there, and one on the driver's side. This will be a lot easier if you have extensions, so you're not having to maneuver around the headlight and other things. Go ahead and pull out the bolts that you have from that upper radiator mount, and it's always a good idea just to thread in the nuts that go along with them, so you don't lose track of anything. The next 2 bolts are about halfway down the radiator. You can see it sits on these sort of pedestals down there. There's one on each side. Again, a long extension will help. On the passenger side, you have the air conditioning hard lines. I actually just went ahead and put a swivel socket at the end of my extension here with a short 12 millimeter wrench, and it fit perfectly, so it should come right out just like that. This is what I used. It worked just fine, and then either using your hands or pliers or whatever you have, you should be able to pull each of these long 2 bolts out. Okay, next thing I did is I removed the battery. I was kind of interested to see if I could do this without removing the battery, since it's heavy and kind of a pain. But you need to, in order to have these little feet clear on each side, because over here on the passenger side you have the hard lines which can't move easily. So this will let me move the radiator off to the side and then up and out of the way. I considered just undoing these little bolts that hold the these little feet on, but I figured they were hard to get to, and that's 4 bolts instead of 2 for the battery, so ultimately that's what made more sense. Next, you're just going to want to do what you can to tuck, you know, like the radiator hose and the shroud out of the way, just so you have a clear path for lifting the radiator up and out. There you have it. The old radiator is out. You want to make sure that you keep track of these little rubber grommets and everything in case your new unit doesn't come with them. Looks like there's 4 sets total. And I won't really film it, but it's also a good opportunity to take the shroud out and do some cleaning if you need to. It also gives you way better access if you are working on your timing belt or AC or anything else like that. So opens up a lot of room for, you know, while you're in there type of work. This is my new unit. It's a Denso, and what I'm actually seeing, which is not really surprising, is that I will need to transfer some parts from the old radiator over onto the new one. It looks like I will need to move these little brackets over to the new radiator to bolt on the sides there. It does, however, though, look like most of the captured hardware is included, and I just test fitted one of the bolts and it threaded right in, so that's nice. And then also, like I mentioned, those little rubber grommets we'll need to transfer over and put onto the new unit. Okay, I just dropped in the new unit. It only took me probably 2 minutes. I angled it in sort of down this way and then in, just to make sure that I didn't hit the hard lines or anything. And then I had to maneuver the shroud a little bit and make sure everything was clearing, but other than that, it went in really nicely. So now I'm just going to follow all the steps that I did in reverse, and I will get back to you when I'm done, starting with making sure that I have reinserted these grommets back into place and inserting these nuts and bolts. Okay, everything's back together. You can see I have my bleeder funnel hooked back up. I won't get too much into this, but these are very valuable. If you have one, they make this part of the job a lot easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and start burping the system, making sure that it's completely filled and there's no air pockets.